Hey guys, so tonight's day 5. This is another fear not verse, and this is where God promises to deliver you, right? And I don't know about you, but I have had so many situations. As I was thinking about this, I thought there have been so many situations in my life that I have where fear is just debilitating, and where the situation is not able to be fixed by me or any person, that only the hand of God can take care of it, or it would take a miracle to take care of it. I mean, I've went through cancer 3 times. We had a miraculous deliverance from our abusive situation. I've lost homes. We had spent years without money. In the red, major in the red. Just tons of situations where if God didn't do something, it wasn't going to get done. And I know when we're on this side of it, we can breathe easy, right? We can say, yeah, that God came through. But when you're on the eve of the situation, when you're walking day after day, hour after hour, wondering if things are going to be okay. Actually just came to my head, a woman that I know, her son, I remember, and I know she's not the only one. There are literally, thousands and thousands of people who go through these things, but she had a son who ended up getting cancer. And I remember it was shortly after my situation, probably a couple years after my situation with my son who's in prison now. After that situation happened, and her son had cancer, and it was really, really a dire situation. It was, and so there were months, and so they started a blog or a vlog, they videotaped, and they had tons and hundreds of people praying for them, thousands of people praying for them. And we were just all following the vlog and stuff, and this sweet boy, and just all the fear and all the things that the mom was experiencing, she would talk about, and, the crying and all that stuff. And I remember walking into Target one evening, and it was the sister of the brother and the mom. And she and I knew each other from church, and we were good friends years ago, but our friends changed and stuff, so we weren't as close. But the minute we saw each other, just started crying. We didn't even have to say anything. It was like we both knew how afraid we were, but we were standing firm. And, you can't speak. There aren't any words. There's nothing here on earth that can fix a situation. Even the comfort of a friend is so, it's like, it is so, those of you who go through these things understand exactly what I'm talking about. And when you're going through this stuff, I just remember looking at her and we both knew exactly how we felt, and how afraid you can, how much you have to stand and really trust that God is who he says he is, and that he will do what he said he will do. And that no matter the situation, that we don't look at the circumstances. We read the word, we speak the word, we look to him. We look to him, and and magically somehow he helps us keep breathing. He helps us keep going through the situation until he comes and sets it free. Well, in their situation, praise Jesus, he made it through, right? He's still living. He has scans every now and then, and they always, scans are clear, and it's been a few years now, so it's just awesome, right? But it was their whole mantra throughout that whole process was no fear. And they would vlog it, like no fear. And I think they even had t-shirts written for him. And it was just, it was one of those situations where, it's like everything, and that was how, when I remember when I had cancer, or especially when I fought lymphoma, God spoke to me that the night we found out, and actually it was a whole day process of testing, and it was such a surreal experience. I spent 2 hours just so in disbelief and crying and looking at my x-rays and just who is this person? This is a movie. And bawling, just like I couldn't believe it. And I remember the Lord saying to me, as my husband at the time and I were driving to tell my folks, we weren't speaking, we weren't saying a word. And I remember as soon as we got to my parents' house, I was super careful. I don't even remember if we said much, but I knew the Lord said something when we were all starting to pray together. He said, it was just, this is not my time. And I watched my tongue from that moment on. It was, I will live and not die. It was just I had to trust, not believe in all of the diagnosis. They were telling me this is aggressive. I had a big grapefruit-sized tumor that was pressing through. I had tumors on my lungs, and it was super freaky scary. I was 27 years old. It was like, who is this? It was a total attack. You know what I mean? It was awful. And I've had multiple situations like that throughout my life. And when you're on those sides of things, it's hard to trust that God's going to deliver you. It's hard to sing and rejoice. Thank God I'm a daughter of Christ. He's going to pull us through. You fight the feelings of fear. You fight the constant barrage of the bad. What if? And the verse that I'm going to read tonight is Exodus 14:13. And this is where the Israelites who had just left Egypt, however many days or months it took, they weren't even on the trip very long. They had come from Egypt, and Pharaoh had said, go. His son had died after all those plagues. His son had died, and he said, get out of here. And he didn't want to see them anymore. He was in deep, deep sorrow. And so they were left. They took, this is 6 million people, right? And babies and kids and their homes and stuff they were taking, and they were leaving. So it took a while, right? It took a minute. It took a hot minute to get to get going and get moving. So however long, and they finally, after leaving and getting, traveling for a while, I actually don't know how many days they traveled, and they came to the Red Sea. And now the Red Sea was, by this time, they heard the chariots coming, and Pharaoh had changed his mind, and they were going to come and get him and kill him and bring him back. And so Moses is standing there going, they're yelling at Moses going, what were we thinking following you? They want to kill him, and they want to go back, and they're super afraid. There's nowhere to go. It's like standing in front of the Atlantic Ocean and going, you have your enemy behind you and the Atlantic Ocean in front of you and no boat. What are you going to do? And if that happened to us nowadays, would you be like, okay, God, will you just split the water? Would that be the first thought you'd think? Especially if you didn't have this story in the Bible to look back on. We can look at that and say, was it a Red Sea moment in your life where God just totally saved you and he parted the Red Seas and he made a way where there wasn't a way? We have all those lovely Christianese sayings because we have these stories where God showed himself strong and where he is our deliverer. He can do things we can't even think of. He can think of ways to deliver us that we don't know about. And I was thinking about that. Honestly, these last few months for me have been exactly that, where I feel like Lord, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? I really, there's so many ducks I keep thinking, trying to get my ducks in a row. The ducks are scattered all over. I feel like there's no way to get these ducks in a row for me to get back on a track that seems good. And when we're in those situations, and you might find yourself in that situation where there's bills that you can't pay. There's a job that you're just not getting a job. You can't find a job, especially in the last 2 years. Maybe you're making half of what you were before. Maybe you lost your business. Maybe you're not married anymore. I know of people where someone did lose their child. I know of people who've lost a spouse. And these are sudden things, and the life is, even the way our country is, everything looks like a situation is so dire. How in the world could God do anything? And the fear is so great because if God doesn't do something, then all we're going to have is hurt and pain and loss and grief. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We want joy and peace and good relationships and security and love. That's what we want. And this verse, Exodus 14:13, it says, God says this, because Moses spoke to the people, because God spoke to Moses in this whole mess as the Israelites were complaining and ready to stone him, and the chariots were on their way, and God, Moses was like, okay, God, you told me to do this, now what? And so after Moses spent some time with God, Moses speaks to the people and he says, don't be afraid. Stand firm and watch God do his work of salvation for you today. Take a good look of the Egyptians today, for you are never going to see them again. And I would like to use this as a prophetic word to you, that don't be afraid. God would say to you, do not be afraid. Stand firm and watch God do his work of salvation for you today. That salvation is saving you in every area of your life. Saving you, salvation is every area of your life. Is abundance, prosperity, and peace in every area of your life. That God will do his work of salvation for you today, and take a good look at that dire situation that you're in, whatever that situation is. Take a good look at it, because you are never going to see this situation again. God is going to deliver you. So stand firm and watch God do his work of salvation for you today. So Father, I just thank you that you're going to do that for us today in every single area of our lives. And I speak that word of prophecy over you right now. You can speak the word over your life and you can count it as true. You can speak this and say, this will happen to me. This is happening to me now. That this is he says and he promises that God's word will not return to him void. It will go out and do exactly what it was supposed to do, what it's called to do. It will do what it's performing to do. Or it will perform what it's supposed to do. Sorry. Anyway, I have been fighting tears for the last few days, and so many bad feelings and thoughts, even tonight when I was driving home from my second job, I was just praying, God, give me hope, give me expectation, help me to think on you, help me to think positive. It's like I have to work so hard at it lately to have joy, to have excitement for tomorrow, excitement for today. And so I'm right there with you guys, but we are going to take a good look at our situation, because we will never see the situation again. And all God's people said, amen. We'll see you guys tomorrow.